Well, so you thought you can get rid of me today, but I'm back. And the reason I'm back is because that offer that we sent out earlier today with the Kufran Gaston pretty much sold out. So we have something else for you today. And actually, I'm really excited about this because, you know, it's funny, as long as I've been going to Bordeaux and as long as we as a store have been selling this bottling, the Chateau Coufran, there's something that I learned just recently. And we had some guys in from, like ex-guys from Chateau and Estates. And I don't know if many of you remember, but Chateau and Estates was one of the leading importers of Bordeaux back in the 80s and 90s. And then during the crisis of 2008, Chateau and Estates basically said, we're out of the Bordeaux game. And a lot of that has to do with retailers like us buying direct, and they basically only had either restaurants to sell or smaller retailers to sell, but then smaller retailers couldn't compete with our prices, so then basically they just said, hey, this isn't working. But at the time, the wines that they brought in, with in quantity, wines like Chateau Medoc, Gras-le-Rose, Talbot, you know, the Cordier wines, and many of you, may remember those with the Cordier foil. And another one that they brought in was Kufran, Chateau Kufran. And so when the Chateau and Estates guys, well, the ex-Chateau and Estates guys were kind of roaming around the store, they kind of came by this bottling, and they looked at it and go, hey, it's the Petrus of the Haut Medoc. And I'm like, Petrus of the Haut Medoc? He said, yeah, that was the nickname of Chateau Coufran. And so I'm like, well, I got to find this out because I need to know. It's my job. And so anyway, so I kind of started digging on the interwebs, and yeah, it's the Petrus. Well, it's the Pomerol of the Haut Medoc, and there's a reason for that. And the reason was back in 1924, when the Maillet family bought Chateau Coufran, it was mainly planted to Cabernet Sauvignon. And the thing is if you know Pomerol and you know Petrus, Petrus is in blue clay, okay? So the soil is clay, it's not gravel. And clay has, my friend Christian Moex once told me, it has wet feet. Because I was asking him once, because they have old vine Cabernet Franc on the property, I'm like, hey Christian, why don't you add any of this old vine Cabernet Franc to Petrus? And basically that was his answer, wet feet. It never gets ripe or ripe enough, even with global warming, you know? So in 1924, Louis Maillet, he figured this out. He's like, I can't give my wine away because it's Cabernet Sauvignon. So what did he do? He ripped out the vineyard, planted Merlot. And since then, it's been 85% Merlot, and then the balance of Cabernet Sauvignon and Cabernet Franc, because there is some gravel on the property, which is, I believe, 150 acres of one continuous property, okay? So I'm like, cool, well, I gotta tell a story. And here we are. So this is the 2009 great vintage, as you well know, the Chateau Coufran, 92 points. 85% Merlot. And the other thing that makes this wine very special is its enologist. And its enologist is a guy named Eric Boisonneau. And I'm sure a lot of you may be familiar with that name. If you're not familiar with that name, he is the man that basically makes every great bottle of wine in Bordeaux, at least in the left bank. He does Lafite, Margaux, Latour, Pichon, the Pichons, and the list just goes on and on and on and on. And he also does Chateau Coufran. And if you go to their website, we'll maybe put a link into it. He has a little video where he actually talks about the wine. And what's kind of cool about that is here you have a guy that makes wines that are $600, $700, $800, $900, but he also makes a wine that's $25. And now you have a wine, it's 15 years old. fresh from the Chateau. It smells like Pomerol. Maybe it's just in my head, maybe it's just like, okay, that's Pomerol. But I was talking to the cameraman beforehand and he, cracked the bottle and we smelled it and it's like, yeah, has that kind of Pomerol vibe to it. And Pomerol flavor. Blue fruits, that's Pomerol. You get those blue fruits. And what I really dig about this is not only you get the blue fruits, but the seamless tannins that are in this wine. And that's Boisano. That's a specialty. He can take those wines and he just makes them melt. And even in rough vintages, he does great. But this is a great vintage. So perhaps it was easy for him, I don't know. But he's a master. So anyway, we're pretty limited on this. But hey, 15-year-old Pomerol of Medoc, $25. Pretty easy.